Good morning or afternoon, everyone. My name is Jeremy Walsh, and I am the Director of Support, Training, and Documentation for BNI Connect. I'd like to welcome everybody to the webinar today. Today's webinar is on the online slips and referral tracking program in BNI Connect. A relatively new feature in BNI Connect since about October of last year, and there are some countries that have just started to use it in the past couple of weeks. What we're going to be going through today is how to enter slips online, what happens when you enter a slip online for any vice presidents or membership coordinators on the call with us today, what it looks like for you as well. We're also going to talk about the referral tracking sheet and how you can use that to really increase your sales by making sure that you're following through on your referrals and making sure that your referrals are closing properly. Today's webinar is a live webinar, so that means that for all of you that are on the call today, please do ask questions as we're going along. There is a questions control panel, a chat-style message window where you can ask questions, and I'd be happy to answer those questions as we're going through the webinar. The content of the webinar is scheduled for 30 minutes, so I'm very time conscious to make sure that people that need to leave right at the bottom of the hour can do so, although I am always happy to stay on these calls as long as people have questions. So please do ask away. This webinar is being recorded in its entirety. It will be made available shortly on our YouTube channel. If you go to youtube.com/BNI Connect Global, this is our YouTube channel. And you can find all of our recorded webinars up there, including multiple copies of this particular webinar. You can also follow us on Facebook, where we do webinar announcements, reminders, tips and tricks, and all sorts of things. And that's facebook.com/BNI Connect Global. So let's jump right into this and take a look at the online slip. So this is the login page. Now, I'm actually in our test system right now because I am a member here in the Rhode Island region of BNI, so I don't want to mess up my own data or my chapter's data. So I'm going to be playing around in our test system right now, but it's exactly the same as our live system. But this is what you'll see when you log into BNI Connect. You'll see the My BNI Business page. Now, what this page is, there's a couple of different sections of the page. So up at the top, there's a quick way to update your status message and go in and change your password and your logo. I'm not going to go into that too much today, but this next part here is your personal POMS report. So this is your activity that has been credited to you in BNI Connect over the last 12 months, as well as your lifetime in BNI. Now, lifetime can even span if you moved from one chapter to another or you left BNI and came back for a while. It takes all of the POMS reports that have your name in it over the years, and it takes all that data and puts it together. So that includes the referrals, the thank you for closed business, the visitors that you've brought to the chapter, the one-to-ones, and the CEUs. Now, it's very important to note that this information up here will be updated only on a weekly basis. So as your vice president verifies and submits the weekly POMS report, this information will only be updated once per week. It's also important to know that this is a combination of the online slips and any paper slips that you've passed in. So it will include all of your past data. The exception to that is the thank you for closed business received. That's never been a number that we've tracked in BNI before. And this number will only accumulate as you enter online slips. It'll still only update once a week because as it gets recorded into the POMS report, but it can only be gathered through the online slips. But let's take a look at the slips themselves. Now, the major activity that we do in BNI is we go to our chapter meeting and we pass in our referrals and we pass in our one-to-ones and all the things that we did during the week in our networking lives. Well, we can do that electronically now. Here is the 4 sections that you can enter the 4 different types of slips. You'll see right down at the bottom it says enter TYFCB or enter thank you for closed business, enter referrals, enter one-to-ones, and enter CEUs. These are how you put those slips in. You virtually pass them into the chapter. So let's take a look at the first slip here, and that's the thank you for closed business slip. And if I click on this, this should look pretty familiar. It's almost identical to usually it's a green slip that we pass in at the chapter meeting. So let's say that I'd like to thank somebody in my chapter for a referral that closed and generated business money for my company, what I would do is just drop down this list and choose the member from my chapter. So let's say I'd like to thank Mary Crooker. She's the insurance agent in my chapter that passed me some business, and I'd like to thank her for a referral that generated $2,000 in business for my personal business. It was new business. It was an outside referral. And the great thing is that I can put whatever I'd like in this comments section. That's the things that you put into the comments section will be 100% private only to you. So nobody else can read these comments. The vice president can't read the comments. Your regional office can't read the comments. Myself, a system admin of BNI Connect with godlike access to the system, I cannot read the comments that you put into the comments field here. So if you'd like to, if it's easier for you to track this going forward, you can actually put client names in or anything that will jog your memory about this thank you for closed business. So I can put in that this was a referral to Jane Smith for new services. And then I have a couple of options. Once I've double-checked this information, I can click on Save and New. That will save this. It'll submit this slip, and it'll immediately open up a new thank you for closed business. So I can very quickly fill out one slip after another. I can click on Submit, which will turn this slip in, and it'll bring me back to my home screen. Or I can click Close, and that'll discard everything. I made a mistake. I don't want to put it in right now, whatever it is, and I can just cancel this activity. I'm going to go ahead and click Save and New because I'd like to put in a new slip right away. And as we can see, it opened up a brand new empty slip. Now, we do have another option that's available to us, and that is we can also thank other people in our region that may have generated dollars for my business. And we can find other people in our region by using the Search Cross Chapter button. Now, one thing to note is that right now this is still an option in many regions, so you may or may not see this particular button. If you don't see this button, please do speak with the director consultant for your chapter or your executive director, and they can let you know when it will be available in your region. It is available in my region, so what I'm going to do is I'd like to thank somebody in another chapter that had passed me a referral because I had met them through BNI that turned into closed business. So I would do that by clicking on Search Cross Chapter. Now, all I need to do is put in 2 characters of either their first name, last name, or their company. So if you're not sure how to spell their name exactly, that's okay. You can just put in the first couple of characters. So I know his last name is Cordero. I can never remember whether it's I-E or E-I, so I'm just going to put in C-O-R. And here it is. He popped up first on my list here, David Cordero. He's actually a computer guy and a web hosting person in another chapter, and he referred me some new business. So I'm going to thank him for that business. I choose him by putting a dot in the circle and say, okay. And now that I can see that the thank you is going to Dave Cordero. And this was a referral in the amount of $5,000. It was new business. It was an outside referral. And I can put whatever comments I'd like. And this was for Tommy Jones for a new server system. And again, I can choose Save and New. So if I have my QuickBooks open at my office and I'm just going one after the other, I can very quickly get through my thank you for closed business. Or I'm just going to go ahead and submit this because I've entered all of the thank you for closed business that I need to right now. So now what's happening on the back end is these have already been put into the POMS report that's waiting for this coming chapter week's meeting. You can also see them in the My Reports. So as we go through and we enter different slips, they get saved into your My Reports. Now, to me, this is one of the biggest benefits of using the online slips, especially with the slips like Thank You for Closed Business. Traditionally, we go to our chapter meeting, and we fill out the slip, and we hand them in. And then that's it. We're done. The problem with that is always that there's no record of who you gave that Thank You for Closed Business, who you thanked, and what your activity was throughout the year, except for a number. The My Thank You for Closed Business report is, again, it's personal to you. Nobody else can see this report. But if I click on the My Thank You for Closed Business, I'll see it gives us a date range. So it's going to show me the slips for the last 6 months. I can change that date range if I'd like to only look at the last month, or I'd like to look at the last year. I can do that. And I'm going to click Go. And what we'll see here is all of the electronic slips that I've turned in over the past 6 months, from October 23rd through April 23rd. So it'll show me who I thanked, the amount I thanked them for, what type of business it was, what type of referral it was, and any comments about that particular referral. Now, why is this great? Because I'm sure this has never happened to you, but a couple of months go by, 3, 4, 5 months go by, and Frank approaches me. And Frank says, hey, by the way, I had passed you that referral to Bob Smith a couple of months back. I just can't remember. Did you ever turn in a thank you for closed business? Maybe I was absent that week or something. You can always go back now to your thank you for closed business report and say, oh yeah, you know what, Frank? On January 15th, I thanked you for $1,350, and that was for Bob Smith. So it's a great way to be able to go back and monitor your activity and recall your activity that you have done. Now, as with almost all reports in BNI Connect, you can export these if you'd like to keep these in a spreadsheet outside of the system. You can do that by exporting it without the headers or exporting it. Or you can print it out to a piece of paper. So let's take a look at the next type of slip that we can enter in BNI Connect. And the next type of slip is a referral slip. So if I wanted to enter a referral slip, I would click on Enter Referrals. And this, again, should look familiar. It's exactly the same as the referral slips that we pass at the chapter meetings. Same activity. I can choose somebody from my chapter. So let's say I have a referral for Charles Westcott. Charles is the social media guy in our chapter. And he's been asking for an introduction to Dunkin' Donuts to help them with their Facebook presence. It was an outside referral. I gave him the card, told him that he would call. I can give the address details. So they're on 1 Main Street in Hearville, Rhode Island, and the phone number. The person he's going to contact is George at DunkinDonuts.com. And I can put any comments. George is very interested. Please call him as quickly as possible. I am going to rank this as a very hot referral. And I'm going to go ahead and I can submit this again and just turn in this slip and go back to the home page. Or I can do Save and New. I'm going to click on Save and New. And we'll go over what the cross-chapter referral looks like as well. And again, if I have somebody that I met and maybe went to a regional training and I got to meet somebody from another chapter that's not represented in my own chapter, or I just struck up a relationship with them, and I'd like to pass them some business. Well, I can do that by clicking on Search Cross-Chapter. Again, all I need to do is to enter the first couple of letters of any of these 3 fields. So I'm going to search for Robin. And it looks like there's a lot of people with RO in their name. So I can either use this refined search. I know her last name is Gardner, so I'm going to do a secondary search here and start typing in Gardner. And I've now filtered this down, and here she is, Robin Gardner. She does training in another chapter, and that's not represented in our chapter. So I'd like to pass Robin a referral. Yes, I'm sure that that's the right Robin. And this referral is for Acme Company. It's an outside referral. And they're in Thareville, Rhode Island. Their email address, and any comments. Call John. He needs corporate Microsoft Office training. And I'm going to rate this one a 3 on the temperature scale. And now this referral has been submitted. So the great part about that, again, is that it will go into the My Reports, but what's even better about passing an electronic referral is that immediately they get a notification about that referral. So when I entered that referral for Charlie and when I entered that referral for Robin, they immediately got an email saying, hey, Jeremy's got a referral for you, and it gives them all of that information that I filled out. Here's what one of those referral slips look like. Now, this is a referral I actually received on April 11th, and it was a Tier 2 outside referral. The status was that they were given my card, and they were told I would call them. It was only rated a 1, but here's the information with the referral name, the address, the phone number, and the comments were already in progress. So I received that notification. I immediately gave this person a call, and I was able to start working on that business right away. The other great thing about this is a lot of times we receive this on our cell phones. So if you do receive it on your cell phone, all you need to do is click on the phone number, or if I need to get back to Alex, I could click on the email address here or just reply to this referral notification, and it will go to Alex and let him know that I had further questions or that I'm following up on it. And as with the Thank You for Closed Business, there is a My Referrals report. So again, this is just your electronic slips that you've entered. By default, it's going to show you the last month, but let's say I want to look at the last 6 months. I can go back, I can change the date, and let's say I want to go back to October 24th, and I can take a look at the last 6 months worth of slips. And I can see all the referrals that I've passed over the last 6 months. And again, this is great because if Ron comes back to me a couple of months later and says, hey, did you ever pass me that referral to Doug Jones? I can go back and look at this report and find out if I did indeed pass that referral slip. I can also re-look up at that information. So Peter George calls me and he says, hey, you referred me to Jane Smith. I lost the contact information. Do you happen to have it still? I can look up in my referral report and I can see, oh yeah, by the way, her phone number is 123-456-7890. Now we have a question here from Carol O'Brien. She says, if I bought something from a BNI member outside of my chapter, can I fill out a slip that refers me to them? So if you are referring yourself to somebody else, you could absolutely pass a referral to them. So again, let's do that right now. So I'm going to go and I'm going to enter a referral. And I'm going to search for somebody in another chapter. So let's say that there was, I'm just going to use David again. So I'm going to use David Cordero and search for him in the other chapter. And here he is. Now, the referral was me. So I would put my own name in, or I can even put self. This was an inside referral because I'm referring myself. I will call them. I can give my own address, my own phone number, my own email address, and I need a new website. Please call me. So he would get the referral received, you would get the referral given, and you could initiate that business. So does that help, Carol? Is that what you were looking for? Excellent. And Becky has a question about how to print the referral slips. I will get to that in just a minute. All right, the next type of slip that you can enter is a one-to-one slip. So entering one-to-ones, again, very straightforward. You just choose the member from your chapter. So let's say that I had a one-to-one with John Ford. He's a personal trainer in our chapter. I can say who initiated that one-to-one if I'd like to, where we met, and we met at his office in Manic Training, what the topics of conversation would be. So let's say that he showed me a sample workout and the date that we met, and we met last Friday. Again, I can choose Save and New to open up a new one right away, Submit. I could also do a search cross-chapter if I met with somebody else in another chapter. Now, the great thing about the one-to-one slips is that only one person of the pair needs to enter the slip. If I enter the one-to-one slip and then John goes to try to enter a slip for the same day, he will get a message saying, hey, Jeremy already entered this slip. Do you really want to enter a second one? And of course, there is a My One-to-Ones report. You can, by default, look at the last 6 months, but again, you can change that date range if you'd like to. Now, what I love about the one-to-one report is, and again, I'm sure this has never happened to you, but you're sitting at your chapter meeting, and you look across the room at somebody in your chapter and say, hey, you know, Janet, she's one person in my contact sphere. I really haven't been able to give Janet a referral in a really long time, and she hasn't given me any referrals in a really long time. The driving force behind referrals is one-to-ones. You can now go back to your one-to-one list. So I can go back to my one-to-one list and say, hey, you know what? I haven't done a one-to-one with Janet since October. That's a really long time. That's almost 6 months. I should really try to deepen that relationship if I want to continue to be able to pass and receive referrals with that person. And our final slip we have is the Enter CEUs. CEUs are chapter education units. For those that don't know what the CEUs are, it's a program in BNI where we earn credit for the additional learning that we do to make ourselves better networkers. So when we read SuccessNet, or we listen to BNI CDs, or we listen to the podcasts online at www.podcast.com, or we go to an advanced training or a networking workshop, or read some of Dr. Meisner's books, we can record the credit for those. Now, you do need just to put the quantity in. It will do the total credit calculation for you. So, I was reading, I finally finished 2 of the books I was reading with Dr. Meisner. I did go to a member success program this week, and I listened to 10 podcasts while I was driving around in the car. So I just need to put the quantities in. It will do the calculation for me, and I click Submit. And of course, there is a My CEU report that goes along with it. Its range is by default 6 months, but again, you can change that to any date range you'd like. So those are the 4 different types of slips and the 4 corresponding reports. I'd also like to show you the referral tracking sheet. Now, the referral tracking sheet is for the referrals that you receive in BNI. So as you receive electronic referrals, they will automatically go into your referral tracking sheet. So if I click on the referral tracking sheet, this will take me to the referral tracking sheet program. I can choose a date range. So by default, it's going to choose the last month's worth of received referrals. I can go back as far as 6 months at a time. So I can go back to October 24th if I'd like to, and click Go. And we'll see that I've received 3 referrals electronically in BNI Connect. Now, what I like about this is, again, this goes back to your member success program, and you'll remember a spreadsheet that's in the manual that says, okay, well, when did you call them? When did you follow up with them? When did you meet with them? Did it close? And this will allow you to track that electronically. So I can click on this referral from Jan Birtwell and click on the Edit button. I can see that I contacted this referral on the 5th. It was given to me on the 29th. I contacted them on the 5th. I met with them on the 10th, and I followed up with them on the 13th. It resulted in $2,000 of closed business, and the status of this is now closed. And you can track all of your referrals that way. Now, if there's a referral that you had received that you'd like to track the status of, but that was not passed electronically, you can add that in yourself by clicking on Add New. Now, one thing to note is that this referral tracking sheet is disconnected from the POMS report. So entering all of this information or entering additional referrals into the referral tracking program will not affect the POMs in any way. Even if you put in the thank you for closed business here, you do still need to pass a slip for that. This is just for your own record keeping in this part of the program. And if you're not looking to edit it, you're just looking for a report, there is a referral tracking sheet report as well that will just give you the details. So if I click on the referral tracking report down at the bottom, this will show me just the details, but I can't edit it from here. But again, if you're looking to keep track of this in a separate system, or you'd like to export it to an Excel or print it out, you can do so. Now, a lot of people ask, well, that's all great. I did all this stuff at Line. What do I need to show up for the meeting for? Well, keep in mind, we are not looking to change your BNI meeting in any way. This is just to enhance the meeting. We still need to go to the meetings, and we still need to do face-to-face networking. We need to do the open networking. We need to listen to other people's 60-second presentations, their 10-minute keynotes. And we still absolutely want to report on the activity that we did during the week. We do that by standing up and talking about it, though we may not need to necessarily drop a physical piece of paper into the bowl anymore, into the hat, or however you may manage that in your chapter. Now, for the door prize, you may want to still put in a slip, and you can do that by printing out the personal meeting activity sheet. That's this bottom choice right here. Now, by default, it's going to choose a slip, and it's going to show the last week's worth of activity. But if you miss a meeting, let's say, and you need to do 2 weeks worth of activity, you can do that as well, just by changing the date to the previous week. I'm going to go ahead and click Go. Now, what we can see here is that it loads up referral slips for me, and it prints them in approximately the same size and shape as a traditional referral slip. So you can actually print this form out, take a pair of scissors, and cut out your referral slips to be able to pass in at the meeting so that you can be included in the door prize. It also organizes the rest of the activity for you. So when it comes your turn, you're going around the room and it's your turn, you can physically put your referral slips into the bowl. You can also say, oh, and I had thank you for closed business to Mary Crooker for $2,000, David Cordero for $5,000. I had a one-to-one with John Ford this week. I had 14 CEUs, and I can also report on any of my visitors that have showed up for that meeting. Now, if you forget to print this out, or you don't have a printer at home, or whatever else, you just don't want to print it out, my suggestion, just take a regular referral slip and fill out a referral slip at the meeting. But you need to make sure that your vice president knows not to count that, because that's already been put into the POMS report if you entered it electronically. My suggestion, put a big X right through the middle of that referral so that you can still be chosen out of the bowl for a door prize, but it won't be mistaken for one that needs to be counted into the POMS report. So what does this look like to vice presidents? And I do see a number of questions have popped up. I will get to all those questions, I promise. To a chapter vice president or a membership coordinator that's now entering the POMS reports, let me go ahead and go into my own chapter's POMS report for this week in the test system, and let's show you what that looks like now. So I can go to my chapter shortcut menu here if I have my Enter POMS on here, or you can go to Operations, Chapter, Meeting Management, and then Enter POMS. I'm going to enter the POMS for this week. Our meeting is on the 24th. Oh, hold on a second. Let me switch over to my own personal chapter here. So I'm going to enter the POMS report for this week. And what we'll see is that there's already activity entered into this POMS report. So I can see if I go down to my own record, I can see that I had one inside referral given and 2 outside referrals given. I also had 1 one-to-one and 14 CEUs. And I had thanked Mary Crooker for $2,000. Now, Vice Presidents, if your whole chapter is doing online slips, all you'll need to do is take attendance. This manages to cut down the entry on POMS reports tremendously. Now, if you'd like to have a balance sheet, because there will be some people that pass in paper slips and some that do electronic slips, you can click on the Slips Audit Report. And this will show you all of the activity that was entered online so that you can see, okay, these are the paper slips I have, and these were all the things that were entered automatically. Now, one thing to note, and this is just a side note for any visitor hosts that are on the call as well as any vice presidents, when you add visitors to BNI Connect, those will also be recorded in the POMS report. So as we add visitors, you'll notice that the invited by field is now a mandatory field. And the person that you choose from the list will get the credit in the upcoming POMS report for bringing that visitor. So if your visitor hosts are entering visitors into the system, as a vice president, please don't double record those visitors at the meeting as well. Okay, we're getting to the bottom of the hour. Now, if anybody does need to leave, I do want to thank them in advance for their time. And this webinar in its entirety is being recorded and will be made available on our YouTube channel, BNI Connect Global on YouTube. But I would like to make sure that we go through and answer the questions that we have as well. So let's see, let's start at the top here. We have a question from Becky Ahring. Says, can you review how to print the referral slips for the drawing portion of the meeting? And I think I did get that just now. Did you have any additional questions on that, Becky? I'd be happy to answer any additional questions on that for you if you have any. She says she's all set. Thanks, Becky. All right, Missy Benke, I believe it is. She has a question. She says, I joined BNI in January. I didn't initially enter slips online. Should I go back and do those all now for tracking purposes? Missy, if you've already turned in paper slips for that activity, then I would not enter any additional slips, because what will end up happening is that they will be double counted in the POMS. Or if you do decide you want them in there, they absolutely must be in your My Reports going on into the future. You could enter them in, but you absolutely must work with your vice president to make sure that they remove the credit from the POMS report after you've done that. By the way, vice presidents that are on the call, membership coordinators that are on the call, you do still have 100% complete control over the POMS report. So members, if you enter a slip in error, right now there's no way to go back and correct those slips. What you do need to do is talk to your vice president and say, hey, you know, I entered a thank you for closed business slip. You know, I entered it for $5,000. It was supposed to be $500. I put an extra zero in there. Can you please correct that in the POMS report? And they'll be able to do that. So again, Missy, I would not recommend putting them in for past. Just start from fresh from now and go forward. Missy has another question. She says, I do business on a monthly basis. Should I enter the amount each month as return business? And yes, you should. So each time you have closed business from a referral, if it's ongoing business for years and years and years, you should absolutely enter those thank you for closed business each time that you receive money from that referral. So a referral itself only happens once, but the thank you for business for that referral can go on for years and years. And that's one of the biggest powers of BNI. Linda says, can we enter referrals, thank you for closed business, or receive to visitors or directors? And Linda, yes, you can. As of this last version, we are now able to do that. So let's say I have a thank you for closed business for a visitor or an alumni, a past member. You'll see at the bottom of the list, you have two options, BNI and visitor. So let's say that a visitor came in and they referred themselves to me. I can do a thank you for closed business for that visitor going forward. Or if it was from a director, or let's say even say from the regional office, or it was an alumni past member, you would use the BNI line for that in order to thank them for closed business. And the same thing on the visitors entry. If it was somebody that was sent from the website, wasn't directly invited from somebody in your chapter, you can use the BNI line in that drop-down for visitors. Does that answer your question, Linda? Judith says, do webinars count for CEUs? On the official BNI slip, there is no option for webinars. That is something that I would talk to your director consultant of your chapter or your executive director as to how they would count webinars for credit in your particular region. On the official BNI slip, they are not here. I can tell you what some regions do is you'll notice that the credits for each of these roughly equate to the amount of time that you spent doing the particular activity. You know, how long does it take to listen to a BNI CD? Well, typically they're 1 hour in length, so that's why it's a 1-credit course. How long does it take to listen to 5 podcasts? Well, they're about 10 to 12 minutes apiece. It takes about an hour. That's 1 hour. Now, how long does it take to read a book? Well, it takes about 5 hours cumulatively to read a book. That's why it's about 5 credits. So for a 1-hour webinar, most people would just choose one of these 1-credit courses and put in a quantity of 1 for those. So Linda suggests put it under the other. I wouldn't recommend putting it under the other because that is a 5-credit. But again, that's just one way to do it. Please do talk to your director consultant or your executive director for how they'd like you to record it in your region. Does that help, Judith? Carol says, can you edit a CEU report if you mistakenly entered a course twice? Again, once we submit these slips, right now they are permanent. You know, we're looking at a way to possibly be able to edit them after we've entered them or maybe delete them to re-enter them, but that's coming in an upcoming future version. So right now, if you do make a mistake on this, so let's say that, oh yeah, you know what, I'm entering this CEU slip and, oh yeah, I need 5 credits for the workshop I went to. So I put in 5 and then I hit submit. Now I go back and say, oh no, I didn't mean to enter 5. That gave me 25 credits. I didn't do 25 hours of networking this week, although that would probably be great for my business. I would have to go back to my vice president and say, hey, by the way, you know, I made a mistake. I put in 5 instances instead of 5 credits. Can you please change that on the POMS report for me? So does that help, Carol? And again, we're working on that for a future version where it can be self-edited. Pedro says, hi. Hi, Pedro. Nice to have you here. And he says, can I see this GoToMeeting back in another way? So I'm not sure what you mean, Pedro, but this webinar is being recorded. So if you'd like to review this webinar at a future time, the place to go, there's 2 ways you'll be able to see it. You can go to our support site. So you can go to the support.bniconnect.com. You can also get there by clicking on this little question mark in BNI Connect. That'll take you to our support site. If you scroll down to the training section, you will see all of the webinars by month. So here you would see, well, these are all the webinars from March, and you could go back and take a look and review any of those webinars that were uploaded. You could also go directly to our YouTube channel, which is youtube.com/BNI Connect Global. And you can find all of our webinars up here, including multiple copies of the online referrals and referral tracking program webinar. So does that help, Pedro? Excellent. Judith says, suggestion, add webinars into the system for the next update. Credit could be 0.5 for a half credit. I would absolutely love to see that done because this is an official HQ form from the official SLIPS program. We do need to get a headquarters and general policy approval in order to do that. So although I would absolutely love it, I will turn that in as a suggestion for a future release. But thank you, Judith. Excellent suggestion. Do we have any other questions, comments, concerns about this or anything else in BNI Connect? I'd be absolutely happy to answer your questions. All right, for those of you still with us, a good referral for me is to please let your other chapter members know about these webinars. We hold between 12 and 20 live webinars every single month on various aspects of the system. Our very next webinar, we have a very special webinar on April 25th. That's this Thursday with Dr. Ivan Misner. He's going to be presenting with me, Building Your Global Network with BNI Connect. We're going to talk about how to maximize your profiles in BNI Connect, how to find people in past business worldwide, how to get involved with the social media groups and have one-to-ones with directors and BNI members in other countries and right around your neighborhood. So please join us. We're doing a double header for that at 9 a.m. Pacific and 5 p.m. Pacific on the East Coast here at noon and 8 p.m. That is this Thursday, April 25th. It is with Dr. Ivan Misner, so please do let your other chapter members know about that. You will have the opportunity to ask Dr. Misner questions during that webinar as well. So again, thank you everybody for your time today. Thank you for being here. I appreciate it. And I look forward to seeing you on a future webinar. Happy connecting, everyone. Have a great week.